All right.
And I think we're live now. We're live now.
2 whole buttons.
Oh.
Yeah, 2 whole buttons. There has to be 2 buttons.
You have to
Well,
hit
it's one
them
button. You have to hit twice.
You do like a script or something. You just like click the mouse button once, and it'll just.
Well, I could do, but it probably take longer to write a script than it would to actually kind of just do it for here till next year.
I mean, it's something to moan about next week as well.
Yes.
Oh, there's some very nice comments already in the chat.
There are very nice people.
Yeah, I'm afraid we brought a few friends along.
Nah, how dare you?
Oh, we've just lost 3. Started with 14, it's gone to 11. Don't know what happened there.
I was going to say turned up to 11, but turned down to 11 then.
Nah, I actually, I'm going to have to open up the YouTube if I actually want to comment, aren't I?
Yeah, I'm afraid through
so.
StreamYard, it's only the host, which is me, that...
I tend
we
to
are live
mute
now, though.
Yeah, we are live, yeah.
Yeah, we are.
I tend to mute the tab just so you don't end up driving yourself crazy with the delay of yourself coming back.
That's smart. That's smart.
Which is a very good idea, yeah. And there's also a delay between us and them. It
That's normal,
between YouTube, obviously it does sort of delve its way through. But you would know that because you're an experienced live streaming maker.
I am.
Very smooth, Andy. Very smooth.
Yeah.
I've done it all of like 5 times now. Which I think
we're only slightly ahead of you. We're on 9 times. 10 if you include our supposed to be 2-minute test.
Accidental stream at the beginning.
that it counts, right? All right.
It's got views. It's
got views, and it gave us more experience, and we learned things. We learn things all the time.
That's important. Learning things is very important.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh no, I've lost. Where's the other window? Oh, there it is. So, hi everyone. Hello.
But I mean, we just sort of started
Good
waffling.
morning. Good afternoon.
We've already said hello. Yeah, because we've already said hello. You forget that when you're kind of doing a live stream podcast that you join sort of 10, 15 minutes beforehand or whatever, and you then kind of have a chat, and then of course you forget that when you start the live bit, you're probably a good idea to say hello to all the people that are waiting, some of which you've already said hello to.
Sorry about that, everyone.
I mean, hello. I suppose we should have really introduced you and said hello, Allie. Welcome to the podcast.
Yes, it's not too late. It's not too late. You can still introduce me and say hello.
Should we wait another half an hour or something, and then
do a bit? Yeah, chat a bit more about some other stuff first, shall we? Yeah.
Just go back to talk about microphones. I see so many lovely people in the chat, though. This is so happy making. Just
Ruth
lovely.
Is in.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I saw Soph. I see Ruth now is here. I love that actually we've got such a strong kind of UK representation tonight.
Absolutely.
Is that usual?
It's mostly
at the
UK
moment.
Europe, but
locals.
We've got Dave Bauer, Dave Bauer Art in the chat. He's American. We've got Red Smith, who's French.
Completely understand what that's like.
Trying to think who else we got.
You mentioned Soph there. I think we need to give Soph a very big shout out. I mean, mostly for just being Soph, but also to say
amazing artist, brilliant painter, all around,
a very good friend as well,
sweetheart and cutie muffin. And this is 100% just my personal opinion. This is not a paid.
Oh no, we agree. So it's not just
totally echoed. Yeah.
We agree with it.
But we also had to get that in early just in case she falls asleep because she said that she's been burning the candle at both ends and sort of trying to light the middle as well. So
don't stay up too late. Take care of yourself. Get a good night's sleep. This is
recorded, so you can catch up with it tomorrow when you're working, or if you want the audio, you can catch up with it probably Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah.
So it might be Tuesday because my kids are going out tomorrow and they're going out on Tuesday. And that means I get some time to myself.
Going out twice in 1 week in this economy?
They are. Yeah. Well, they've been given, the local council have given, via the sort of bus companies, they've been given free summer bus tickets. So for the entire summer, they can jump on a bus for free and go anywhere within the county. Yeah.
Aww,
so they're going to do that.
It
makes Dad happy.
Funny.
Yeah.
There is some very nice things like that on the local level that I've encountered in this country that are just, they're so nice. They're so nice. Like I feel like local level stuff in the UK is often just like so community based and really, really nice. It almost makes you forget what country you're in for a little bit. And then
was that a sly little thing in there?
Yeah, I'm just gonna end that sentence there. No, to be fair, I'm pretty certain we are all on the same page on that front, so I'm not actually that concerned. Everyone else in the audience, though, I don't know. So I might offend people.
I mean, you're dual national, I believe, aren't you?
I am. I've got 2 passports. It's like
cool.
It is one of those things that I still kind of can't believe it. I've been a dual citizen for, oh my gosh, nearly 5 years. 4 years, 4 and a bit years.
Do you consider yourself a Brit yet, or?
Oh yeah. In fact, I love telling people that I'm a Brit because when they hear it in this voice, they're like,
the cognitive dissonance sets in quickly.
And I'm just, but to be fair, when people also ask me where I'm from, I say Greenwich. So, like I do purposely mess with people when I know exactly the question that they're asking me is.
My friend Richard's the same. He was born in Rhodesia, but he's a dual national. So
where is Rhodesia?
It's what is now Zimbabwe.
Oh, thank you.
So
okay.
South Africa. But it was Rhodesia at the time when he was born there. So for him, saying it with a sort of a slight Afrikaans twang to his accent, and then saying that he's British, and again that cognitive dissonance.
Absolutely. Though to be fair, when I'm back in the States, apparently I get told that I sound English now. So I mean, I'm happy to put it to a vote, like how many people think I sound English or British and how many people think I sound American. But I mean, I feel like I know where I fall, but I guess the accent is in the eye of the beholder or the ear of the beholder or something.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's quite common all over the world, isn't it? For anyone that goes back home.
No, to be fair, most people who move to another country do pick up a bit of the accent, and
absolutely,
I don't think I have. I don't think I ever will. I had somebody telling me just the other day in the corner shop, like, "Oh, you'll pick it up soon," and I was like, "Will I though?"
I mean, how long have you been over here?
11 years.
Yeah.
11 years.
After 11 years, probably not.
It's just total like stubbornness and resistance, I think, at this point.
See, this is the thing. If I could pick it up, I would. Like I want to. I would like to. I cannot. It won't go. Like it doesn't stick. It's not right. It's very wrong. And I am kind of taken back to another life where I did theater. Surprising actually nobody. And having a role in a play that the character was Irish. And I did my damnedest. I did my best. By the way, what's the rule with swearing? Just so I know.
If you need to swear, you can swear, but it will get beeped for the audio. The audio podcast.
Okay, good to know.
Whatever happens in the live stream happens in the live stream.
YouTube stays, yeah.
Okay, all right. Good to know. I'm pretty good at behaving, but it's always good to know if it's allowed. But yeah, I was playing an Irish character, and I did my absolute best to put on an Irish accent. And I remember, like, it must have been like a week or two, maybe a little more, before the actual performance. And the director was like, "Can you not?" And I was like, "What do you mean? What do you mean, can I not? Can you not put on the accent?" And I was like, "But the character is Irish. Like, I've been working on my Irish accent for like weeks, months. Like," and she's like, "I know, but it's not good." So if you could just use your normal accent, that would probably be better. And I was just like, Oh god. And like and so like I did that day, like I did that rehearsal in my own accent, and she was like, yeah, that's much better. Can you just do that? I was like, fine. I mean, I will toot my own horn and say that I did a wonderful performance. The show is The Miracle Worker, if anyone here is familiar with it, which is not a story that I think actually gets told over here in the UK very much, but it's a play that's based on a true story of an activist, a disability activist named Helen Keller, who was born blind, deaf, and mute. Which is, if you think about it, a lot.
Difficult to deal with.
Yeah, a lot. But she not only did she manage to figure out how to communicate with the world, she went on to advocate for other disabled people. And this was also in like, I want to say like maybe the late 1800s, early 1900s. So like this wasn't recent. This was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so there was a play made about her kind of her overcoming the hurdle of not being able to communicate with people. And her teacher was this Irish woman named Annie Sullivan, and that was the character I played. It was a lot of fun. It was one of the most intense roles I've ever played in anything, and it was a blast. It had a whole choreographed fight scene, which sounds a little weird when you think about a play about an Irish activism teacher and a disabled young girl, but I
don't know why, but instantly my mind just sort of went to this swashbuckling kind of sort of,
almost. It was more like a food fight.
Nice.
It was a bit more like a food fight, but no, it's a great play. But I 100% was told to knock off the Irish accent.
That's a shame. We've actually had a request from Karam Hussein in the chat to hear the Irish accent.
I don't see. This is admittedly where I'm a little bit like, see, if I'd brought like some whiskey or something, I feel like it would be easier to get me to put on an accent.
Yeah, I've only got Scotch here as well, so it wouldn't be any use.
I feel like in my completely 100% sober form, I'm just like, accents. I'm really bad at that.
I mean, we sort of had a little bit of a British twang before, whether it was intentional or not.
That's it. It does sneak in a little bit, but I don't. When it does, I don't realize it. Actually, putting something on is, I feel, more difficult. What is this? Whale oil beef hooked? I'm not sure. I'm just sitting here thinking,
that's in the Irish accent.
I feel like it's going to take me entirely too long to get there.
We'll tell you later. Yeah.
Just
we'd have to bleep it out.
There we go. See, it's fine because I said it in a very American voice, and see, people enjoyed that. That was. So we'll see. We'll see if my my accent comes out a little bit later. Though I will say that my one, like, even halfway passable bit of English accent is stolen 100% from an Eddie Izzard bit.
Which is
because then I'm just parroting. Because then it's just a parroting kind of thing, and I feel like parroting I can do, but like having to come up with like a unique sentence and have it actually match the accent feels much harder. I think the other reason why English has become so difficult is because I actually don't register it as an accent anymore because I've been here for so long. Like, to me, like, to my brain, y'all don't sound any different than I do. And I know logically that you do. Like, if I actually sit and concentrate and pay attention, obviously we sound different. But my brain's just like, nah, it's the same. We sound the same.
I get the same where, cause I grew up in Liverpool, and that's got a very distinctive, unique accent, which I sort of fortunately managed to shun most of it. But if I go and spend a couple of days up north, if I go and spend a few days with the family, like the first sort of 8 hours, 12 hours, something like that, it feels really weird being around everything. Everyone sounds like they're speaking a foreign language, and then by the following day, I'm just into it, and then it takes me a few days coming back home to the Midlands to kind of
I'm sitting here and like, and I'm in my head and I'm trying to remember it, And I feel like almost like the easiest way to think of it is to literally think of the word Liverpool. And like
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, think of the word Liverpool in the Liverpudlian accent, and it's kind of starts to come
higher pitch on that last syllable.
Yeah, and there's a few Liverpool. Little places within Liverpool that you can't say without sounding Scouse either. Like Fazakerley.
Like where?
Fazakerley is a little borough of Liverpool, and it just sounds Scouse when you say it. And there was a radio presenter years ago. There was, I think, some footballist that ended up in Fazakerley Hospital, and they were proper received pronunciation. London radio station were talking about this thing, and he'd been taken to Fazakerley Hospital. That was that was just them reading it. But it's Fazakerley. That's where I grew up. Well, not where I grew up, but yeah, Fazakerley. It's just
see. I can kind of I can
emulate the Scouts. Yeah,
I can emulate, but again, I can't come up with. I can't make my own words. I'm just a parrot. I'm just a mynah bird, basically. I have a very.
I get that. My kids keep saying, because I'm Welsh, and most people can't tell that I'm Welsh. And my kids keep saying to me, "But you don't sound Welsh. You do a Welsh accent," and I can't do a Welsh accent. But if I'm telling somebody off, or if I'm on the phone to my sister, who still does sound Welsh, even though she's lived out of Wales longer than I have, I start sounding Welsh because it just falls into place. But trying to actually force to sound Welsh, can't do it. Mm-hmm.
See, this is admittedly where Hannah comes in, because Hannah's Welsh, and I believe that Hannah can put on a bit more. Again, like you, she doesn't sound terribly Welsh anymore, which I guess is also a thing that, like, because I've known quite a few Welsh people at this point, and I think only one of them still sounds Welsh. And he also is just he talks so quietly that you almost can't hear him at all. So it doesn't matter what accent he has. I guess the Welsh accent is just kind of gentle, and like Soph says, like, what even is a Welsh accent? Like, it's there. Now I do know what it sounds like.
It's a regional thing as well, obviously. With
I was going to say
North Walians,
South,
it's so, and West Walians sounds so much different to those from the valleys.
I mean, gosh, you start comparing English accents and it's the same. So like it's, but I mean, the same can be said for American accents. Obviously, like
absolutely, yeah.
When you're from Boston, your Boston accent's going to be a little bit different than somebody who's from Texas. A Texan accent's a little bit different, and of course, if you're from California. Californian accent's totally different, dude.
Well, no one listens to you anyway if you're from California, do they?
See, I can do American accents. But I'm from the most boring accent, like, part of the country, which is just the Midwest, which is admittedly the American accent that non-Americans think of when they think of American accents. They think of the Midwestern accent, which just sounds like nothing. That's
but I mean, that is to your ears, isn't it? It's still a very American accent to anyone outside of America.
That said, I do apparently, according to people, have a little tiny bit of an accent that is regional to my home state. It only comes out in certain words. So if I don't say those words, you don't hear it. But it's in O sounds, but only in certain words. Like God or pop, and then you know where I'm from, basically, because I say, "Oh my God." See, now I'm wondering if anyone in the audience is like, "Oh yeah, where are they from? Where is that accent from?" I think it's actually it's given away in the fact I think that most people, when they meet me here and they don't know me, they ask me if I'm Canadian.
Ooh.
And not American. Though I still think that's
you're very
partly...
polite?
Am I though? Actually, I think my theory is that it's less offensive to ask an American if they're Canadian than it is to ask a Canadian if they're American.
Yes.
Yeah,
so it's easier to default to Canadian, unless somebody, again, sounds like they're, from the deep south. They're from the deep south.
Yeah, sometimes it's unmistakably American.
Yeah. Minnesota is actually quite close to where I'm from. I was gonna say I that's actually a very good guess, Minnesota, because the Minnesotan accent I do believe is very similar. But again, we're splitting hairs here, like on the differences.
I mean, are you going to give it away?
I mean, I've said it before, like publicly, so it's not a secret. Though I gotta say, JP, North Carolina is not in the Midwest at all. So your geography skills might need brushing up.
I mean, it is west of here, so he's close in that regard.
I mean, it's in the right country. It's in the right country. I do think a lot of people don't necessarily know American geography very well. And to be fair, my British geography is terrible. So like. I do not judge necessarily. It is a big. I mean, it's basically Europe. It's Europe,
it is, yeah.
and a bit extra. Yeah, no,
and with the very polite shop over the top of the or the very polite flat above the shop being Canada.
Yep, very very polite. And then it gets more exciting the further south you go past the U.S. But yeah, no, England is much smaller. That's true. But I also feel like for some reason it just doesn't seem to stick in my head that well. Like I have my basic kind of like geographical landmarks. Like I kind of know whereabouts like certain counties are.
Yeah, I mean it's just everything's sort of scaled down, isn't it? Even the towns are tiny in comparison.
I know where London is. I know where Brighton and Bath and
vaguely southwest.
Nottingham.
Vaguely Midlands.
Like basically, once it goes past Nottingham, then I'm like.
Well, that's the north, so
that's the Badlands, exactly.
Yeah. North, eventually Scotland, and again going west, eventually Wales.
Yeah, pretty much.
Going south, eventually water. In France, like I have a good general idea.
And the good thing is, in the UK, you're pretty much never more than 70 miles from the sea.
Yeah, pretty much.
It might be 55. It's some quite low number.
That is.
I think it might be.
Is it really that low?
It is, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like that is a thing I am still getting used to. Is like distance, kind of size difference, because like, so because nobody has guessed it, at least not that I have seen. I'm from the state.
Montana and Wisconsin.
Yep, it's not Wisconsin either. I am from the state that looks like, well, I suppose. Yeah, no, I guess it is. It is this way. I was gonna say in the actual screen, it is the state that looks like this, or rather, kind of like that. It's Michigan. So the oh my god and pop and stuff like that. That's my Michigan accent. But again, it is right next to Canada, so like kind of tracks. You could drive. You could drive to Canada from where I grew up. Which is hell. I'm not actually joking.
Is that why you came here to escape?
I mean, to be fair, I left Michigan as soon as I could. Like I was like a bye, like turn 18, see ya. So no, I think
pretty much the same for me leaving Liverpool.
Yeah. It was very much a. Interestingly enough, I actually, going back to Michigan as an adult, I'm kind of like, okay, I can kind of see why people like it here. It's really picturesque.
Yeah, you can appreciate it much more, can't you?
It's cheap as chips. Like, it's a really cheap place to live. But as a kid, it was just brutal. It was absolutely brutal. But I also...
Now, is that American chips or is that British chips? Because they're not the same thing.
No, but I feel like they're similarly priced.
Probably.
I'm gonna go with chips as in crisps because I feel like they're cheaper than an order of chips as in fries.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. No.
What would you get more for your money though?
Get more mass for your money. You get more mass for your money from potato.
Here comes the physicist.
True. Yeah.
I think you get the same amount of house though. So like, whether you use crisps or chips as the currency, you get about the same amount of house. But yeah, the driving in Michigan, you could. I mean, to be fair, Michigan isn't that big, but like, you could drive from the bottom of Michigan, because Michigan kind of ends here and Ohio starts, all the way up to the tip of the mitten, like 5 hours. And what is that, like most of England? Like
Pretty much, yeah.
like that's just one state that's considered quite small. When I actually moved down to Texas, that was a 22-hour drive, I think, and maybe more. Because I mean, I didn't do it in one go. Jesus, that was a 2-day drive because I like value my ability to see straight. So I slept. But
a good idea. That long, yeah.
But yeah, like you couldn't drive for 22 hours in a straight line in the UK. You'd be in the water, and then again maybe in France, and then possibly all the way to Spain. And like at that point, like it's far, and so distances here they feel different because it also takes longer to get places.
Yeah,
it's weird. I mean,
we were working out recently for us to go and see a friend of ours in Germany. We could do it in about 14 hours.
Okay,
and that's including driving up from the south coast to pick me up in the Midlands, and then driving back down to the south coast to get a ferry across to Holland, and then driving through Holland through to Germany. That was about 14 hours plus the ferry, which is a couple of hours.
Oh wow,
which is crazy when you think that's going through 4 countries and across a big puddle essentially.
Yeah, that is really weird.
Comparatively speaking,
we're losing some folks to dinner, but I approve of dinner. That is a legitimate reason to head on off. But I did not necessarily anticipate to be talking about geography.
Well, this is Makers Waffle.
Exactly that. It's completely unstructured, and
you can do a hell of a waffle. I can.
Yeah,
I'm a pretty good waffler.
Whatever the subject, we just waffle, and because we can.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I suddenly was looking in my camera. And I was like, what is behind me? I was like, oh yeah, we've got all sorts of stuff. Oh, and a visitor. There might be a.
Oh, is it one of the cats? Please let it be one of the cats.
I mean, either that. It's a very small human
with a tail.
Hello. What are you? Are you packing yourself away in the? Okay.
That is one of the joys of your live streams when the cats decide to come and give their input.
he's just climbed into the storage unit. Like he's gone now. He'll pop back out eventually. Yeah. So it's a dip raise in here. The ginger boy's in here.
Has he filed himself in the correct storage unit though?
I don't know. Hi, are you in there with the vice? Are you a vice? You're a strange one. Yeah. But of course he's gonna be a butthead and he's gonna use the litter box. Because I do think that they know when they shouldn't make any noise. And this is actually this doesn't just happen in live streams. I have now a very possibly a flawless record of I cannot film in the kitchen because I've been doing more. I've started doing some of my video or segments of my videos in the kitchen because it's a different space, and I live in London in a not terribly huge flat. So if I film everything in this room, it would get boring really quick, and I can only do it from like 2 angles. But kitchen adds a little bit extra. So I've started doing some stuff in the kitchen, and I have yet to film even a little bit without somebody choosing to have a meal. And it's kibble, it's dry food. So it's like just crunch. And I'm like, and so like I'll be talking to the camera. I'll be in the middle of a technical explanation. See, now we get the I'm gonna pap the litter box for a bit. I said it, and now he's like, "Oh no, I won't do it." All right, but yeah, I'll be in the middle of like explaining something technical or saying something, and all of a sudden, there's big crunch behind me, and I'm just like, "Okay, that's how this is gonna be," and I'll just sit there and I'll wait. Sometimes I don't even stop the camera. I'll just sit there. And so I do actually have somewhere I have video footage of me just staring at the camera.
Try not to move too much so you can just jump cut it. Yeah.
just waiting and like thinking they'll be done, and then they'll start up again, and then the other one will come in and start eating, and it's just like, I know
maybe that's a great way of jumping up your view time on YouTube. Just loop it all together, just all the cat segments together, and
just
then
put together a video of just
B-roll of cats
being fed up with my cats interrupting filming. I mean, to be fair, that would be the video that like gets me over 4,000 watch hours.
Yeah, it goes viral. Yeah.
Hey, go for it. Do it. Yeah.
I'd hate it.
All these really technically competent videos, and then just the one video that's got 3 million views, just all about cats.
Well,
all about cats eating, just off camera.
It's really funny, actually, because I very nearly... Really? You done? Would you like to exit? Thank you. Yes? Good boy. You knucklehead. Are you just gonna leave just like that? Love him and leave him. All right. Sorry. No visit from Dipper today, or at least not on camera. Just a lovely smell. Thank you. Wonderful. I can't even remember what I was saying now.
The benefits of being in the 21st century, or the early parts of the 21st century, before smell-o-vision came in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. What was I saying before the cat interrupted me?
3 million views on a cat video.
Right. Yes,
4,000 hours.
Now. I remember. I very nearly didn't upload my coming out video to my channel because I have my videos have a very particular, vibe. They're a particular type of video. And I was like, is it gonna be weird if I upload something that's just totally different? Is it gonna throw things
there's
off?
a consideration it might knock the algorithm, or
I don't even know. It just something about it just felt weird. And obviously I got over it. And I did anyway. Like, I was still going to share the video, but I was thinking like, oh, I could just put it on Twitter, just put it on Instagram. Like, I don't have to put it on YouTube. And then in the end, I was just like, why not? I'm gonna do it. If for no other reason than for some sort of posterity, but also so that I can refer people to it later if I need to. Which is admittedly a great idea.
Absolutely. I mean, other than the sort of the outpouring of love that's brought you, and like, sort of the support from your friends, has it impacted the channel as well? Has it had some sort of?
I don't think so. I mean, other than the fact that it's now my most viewed video.
Of course.
That that's a positive impact. I don't know yet. I don't know that it's been long enough to say. I haven't uploaded another video, like another project video since then. Though hopefully next week.
Yeah.
This is just a slight tease towards an upcoming future project there.
I mean, the project is well underway, but the video is almost done. Well, it's almost done being filmed, and then I have to do the 8,000 hours of editing. That's decreasing steadily faster. But yeah, hopefully new video soon. But I don't know. I don't think it has. But I feel like this is going to be one of those things that it isn't necessarily going to be an obvious shift. I think if it was going to be an obvious shift, it would have been. But that's obviously everything. The response was very positive. The response was overwhelmingly positive. I think I had one troll, like one naysayer, one crappy comment anywhere. Yeah. And so no, I don't expect a seismic shift or anything. I also think that I may or may not see little subtle things for the rest of my career. I also will have to come out several more times because if you didn't see it the first time, or you forget, or like it is one of the things. And this was admittedly what I said to many people who kind of very sweetly kind of congratulated me on kind of like discovering myself and coming out, and I was kind of like, oh, this isn't my first time. This isn't even probably the 100th time. It's just the first time that I've come out like this. That's new. That's
in this medium, on this particular channel.
To this many people. Yeah. But I mean, the truth is, I've been coming out to people since I was probably about 18 or 19. And I first just, kind of finally wrapped my head around the fact that all those dreams I had about Sailor Moon characters were maybe not nothing. And it was like, I absolutely, I give Sailor Moon immense amounts of credit for my queer awakening. Because I watched a lot of Sailor Moon in my teen years. I need
to let my good friend Hannah know, because she's very much the Sailor Moon fan.
It's a different Hannah to the Hannah we mentioned earlier.
Yes,
there are other Hannahs in the world.
But no, this is my friend Hannah, who was my best man at my wedding.
Ah, very good. Very good.
If that's any indication.
Nah, that does fill some gaps in perhaps. But no, Sailor Moon definitely helped with some stuff. But I've been coming out in different ways for more than half of my life at this point, I think, or about half my life or so. I don't even know how old I am anymore.
Is that a good cue for just explaining to the people in the chat who've not yet seen your video, or is that a good cue for them to go and watch the video?
I'm happy. Please go watch the video. Give me the views. But
it will get linked.
Also
make sure it is linked in the.
It is a good video.
I'm actually very happy with the video, and I will confess that.
How many takes did it take?
Only 3, but
pretty good going.
But it took days before I was ready to film it after writing it, because it was too emotional to get through at first.
It's a very, very, very real video.
Yeah, and it was very important to me to kind of do it right. So for those of you who haven't seen it and you haven't immediately run off to watch it, I'm non-binary. I very much have kind of been a little bit of a, I can't say a wolf in sheep's clothing, because that's not accurate at all. It's more like a dog in sheep's clothing, like not threatening, but also not what I was pretending to be. So I'm not a woman. People think I'm a woman. That's very sweet of them, but it's wrong. It's just incorrect. I'm non-binary, and I use they them pronouns. I use neutral singular pronouns, which is not bad English, and I will fight you, and many people will fight you, and there are books written about it. So it's not that complicated.
They always say stuff like that, don't they?
No, that's and the sad thing is that I've actually lost friends over that.
Over that video? Or pronouns?
No. Not this time around. Years ago, when I was kind of first coming to terms with my gender identity, which is now again 7 or 8 years ago, and I was first telling kind of my friends and stuff like that, and I was kind of like, if you can use they them instead of she her, I would really appreciate that. That would make me feel better. And there was a couple of people, not a lot, but there was a couple people who legitimately refused, not a I'll try but I'll probably mess it up, but just refused, flat out refused, under the guise of bad grammar,
which is a terrible excuse to begin with.
It is,
Yeah.
and it's frustrating too that one of those people is literally a writer, like a professional writer, and it was like
Someone who should know better
yeah,
from a technical standpoint. Yeah,
but also like even if it was like not good grammar, like it's great to know that you value grammar than you do me. You know, so
And it's not as if language is an inflexible thing that has never changed.
yeah. No, it's absolutely. We speak exactly the same as we did when English was first invented, don't you know?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
absolutely words like meme and, you know, teleprompter and personal computer were totally words that existed in, I don't even know when English came about. Like
it's been a while.
Yeah. William Shakespeare invented it.
Did he?
Everyone knows that. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Actually, hilariously enough, I love that William Shakespeare is one of the things that I can happily quote as using singular they. There is singular they in William Shakespeare writing. So it's kind of like, if Shakespeare can do it, so can you. But yeah, so that's kind of the skinny if you haven't seen it. But it was very important to me to get it right. Not necessarily because I was worried about people misunderstanding me, but because of the fact that I was basically kind of representing a whole group of people,
It's
whether
bigger than
I
just
like
you,
it or
isn't
not.
it?
Yeah. And that was really scary because we're not a monolith, obviously. Like, we're a diverse group of people who just happen to share a gender identity. And even that is a bit of a oversimplification because there's lots of non-binary gender identities. So like most of us don't even share one. Yeah. No, it's a lot. I actually identify as agender when I'm like actually being specific with people and not just general, because it's a lot to take in. And so, yeah, there's lots of non-binary people who feel very different about themselves and their gender than I do. So we're not a monolith by any means, but we're also such a relatively tiny group of people that I knew that it didn't matter what I wanted. That in putting this out there, I was making a statement, and I was basically stepping forward and putting myself in a new group, putting myself in a new box, in a new category. And so I was very much like
stepping in as an ambassador at the same time, being on a public platform with a channel. And
so yeah, it was definitely a thing that I spent a lot of time thinking about, both what I wanted to say, but also how I presented it, because I'm a filmmaker. Surprise. And so how I show something is very important to me. And so I definitely spent some time kind of like thinking about that, like thinking about how I wanted to light myself and what lens I wanted to use and stuff like that. And in the end, I was terrified but happy with the results. So I was kind of like, it was very much one of those like, all right, it ain't getting any better than this. Like, this is it. It's not, there's no better version of this to put out there. This is the best possible version of this there is.
I mean, that's the thing, is obviously you've got to get it as right as you can, because you don't want to get, a load of views on it and then pull the video down, refilm it
again. Yeah. So yeah, that's the thing. But it has been overwhelmingly positive. I still think actually the single best thing that has come from it that was completely unexpected is the number of people who have come to me, most of them privately, to say, thank you for this. I have a non-binary kid and they're very lonely and they feel very overlooked, and this gives them hope. Yes. And I was like, yeah. Just like that was big emotions, big tears with that, because obviously I didn't even have a word for this when I was a kid.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I just knew I was different. That was it. I knew I was different, and I just kind of accepted that, because admittedly I was different in a lot of ways, not just this. again,
I mean, being a Sailor Moon fan, that's different.
Yeah,
enough.
no, I watched it. I watched anime. Like I was a huge nerd. But not in the way that all the nerds were. I was always, even as a nerd, I was weird.
You're the nerd's nerd.
Well, because I was a nerd who liked art, and theater and music, and
well, I mean, nerd culture is a spectrum in and of itself, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
But I definitely think in the 90s, particularly, it was very pigeonholed.
Yeah.
Nerd was Magic the Gathering. Nerd was Dungeons and Dragons. Nerd was, video games or comic books or whatever, which I was into, all of those things. But I was also into other things. I liked school. Oh my God. I liked school? Like nobody's allowed to like school. Like that's just the worst. So yeah, it was
Sorry, I've just noticed that my brother's just jumped into the chat, and he's the one who got me into manga when I was in the 90s. Introducing me to Akira.
I was gonna say, I'm sad to say I've gotten rid of most of my manga. I had a huge manga collection, like a physical paper manga collection. And I got rid of most of it because books are sadly impractical these days. Like, again, especially if you live in...
Especially in a small flat
in London, yeah.
So I now have a very select collection of manga, most of it newer. But yeah.
So with manga, I mean, I wasn't into manga. I mean, I'm a slightly different generation, and it wasn't my thing. Yeah, I'm old, Jimmy. I know. But having kind of worked in schools for sort of best part of 20 years in my career, I know a lot of kids got into manga or got into art because of manga.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so was your entry into art through manga?
Yes and no. My entry into art actually came earlier because I was lucky enough to have adults around me that were interested in art. My mother did ceramics. She did stained glass. My father, admittedly, not an artist per se, but he is a chef, and he created art in a way that is not something I feel like I've seen many people do, except for on TV shows where people are plating up at a friggin' 3 Michelin starred restaurant, and they're doing an art on the plate, basically.
Tweezers.
Yeah, exactly. Like that was always kind of his art.
So just that soundbite then of that phrase of doing an art on the plate.
Doing an art on the plate. Just like that. And my uncle as well, like, in fact, he probably gets a lot of credit because when I was very young, we would color in coloring books. And it was my uncle who taught me that you don't have to color in the lines and that you don't have to color things the colors that you see. And so we would color the sky orange, we would color the grass purple, we would add things to the coloring book that weren't there at all. And he got me to start to, I guess, question almost like what I see and wonder how I can make it better. So manga did play a role because manga, I feel like in some ways was kind of the thing that finally made me pick up a pencil and start drawing in earnest, because once that started, it hasn't stopped like 23 years later. Like I picked up a pencil one day basically and started tracing, because that is actually the best possible thing
really
to
good
do
start, yeah.
when you're getting started doing art. And I don't even care how old you are. I was going to say when you're a kid getting started in art, but actually no, I don't care how old you are. If you don't have any experience with art and you are wanting to get started in art, trace stuff. It's fine. It's okay. It's not cheating. It's learning. And so I traced a ton of manga. I traced a lot of
muscle memory and things, isn't it? It's
exactly.
It's developing those visceral skills that you need for it.
Yep. And so what went from nothing, eventually I filled a wall of my bedroom with manga drawings. And eventually I stopped tracing and just started looking, like just copying by looking. and the copying by looking eventually became just references, which eventually just became making stuff up. And yeah, it obviously just kind of blossomed from there, and definitely resulted in a sort of, I would like to go to art school.
So that was going to be my next sort of thing, was as someone who's had a profession as an artist, were you also trained as an artist as well? Did you do?
I did the art school. My
Stateside, I'm assuming.
Yes.
So is this kind of worms here?
No, I only the only reason why that is the response is because of the cost. Like I have a bachelor's degree of fine art, bachelor's of fine art, BFA, in media arts and animation, and it honestly I loved it. I really did. Like there's no regrets on that front. The cost though is just like, oh god, that was a lot of money.
So that explains why you moved out of the US then, just to run away from the debt of learning.
I so wish it worked that way. Honestly, the truly stupid thing is the fact that I have to have a US bank account to pay the student loans, which is like, do you not want my money? Like, if I try to give you money from a foreign bank account, you're not going to accept it. Like, do you not want my money that bad? But yeah, no, it's unfortunately a thing. But I learned a ton, and that is very much where I learned 3D design. And it's very much where I learned all of my awesome thumbnail making skills. You know, I was already using Photoshop when I went to school, because I very much got started in Photoshop on a hacked copy of like Photoshop 5 or something when I was 15, because I was
You beat me to it. 7 was what I started on.
There we go. Like, yeah, like it's come a long way. It's come a long way, this software. But yeah, that was very much where I got the foundations of so much of what I know. And so I can't be mad about that. I'm only mad about the cost. And maybe a couple of teachers.
That's entirely fair, though. You know, we know what these teachers are like.
But like, also, I am 100% one of those students that's insufferable, because I would basically second guess the teacher at every opportunity. But then I'd do worse. I'd prove the teacher wrong in front of the class, in front of everyone. And, you know, no teacher likes that. I mean,
yeah, I've been that student and the teachers that was.
Yeah.
And Andy will have.
Admittedly, some teachers may actually really appreciate that they have a student that can do that, but my teachers may not have. Yeah. Especially when I was misreading the textbooks too. Like I was not satisfied to just like keep my mouth shut and learn stuff and move on. I had to sit there and explain why the book's example of subtractive color was actually incorrect, because what they were citing was actually a strange combination of subtractive and additive color. And here's an example, a literal physical example of the color. Like, it's like, yeah, that was me. I also, unsurprisingly, graduated the top of my class because I'm an asshole. Because I wanted to know everything, and I wanted to be right about everything, and so I would learn stuff until I was right, and then I got good grades as a result. But I also worked very, very, very hard, because it was not an easy program. It was a program that was so difficult that only a third, I think, or possibly even a quarter of the students that I started with actually graduated. It was a very hard course. It was very tough. It was basically like working 2 full-time art jobs that are very demanding. So I didn't. I mean,
full-time artist. That's what, 8 hours a week, sort of thing.
No, it was a challenge. It was definitely a challenge. And though, funny enough, I went on to, like, my first post-university job was in video games, which is notoriously long hours. and it actually wasn't so bad because I'd been doing such stupid hours for school that I was like, huh. I mean,
I get to go home and have a rest. Wow.
This is hard, but like,
Is that it?
this is okay. Like, this is okay, I guess. I'm getting paid. I wasn't getting paid before, so like now I'm getting paid. Yeah, it's all right. So yeah, that is very much kind of where my a lot of my kind of foundation skills come from. Though obviously I have built on them substantially and added a bunch of other things too. I did not learn 3D printing.
Yeah, I mean,
the 3D
'cause that was-
printing.
cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that was something that I mean, obviously,
Only
we I suppose for the background who people who don't know, the three of us are friends with and moderate in Billy Rubin's Discord.
oh yeah,
So-
we are basically
The mod squad.
We are the mod team. Yeah.
We're very much kind of the God, I wish I had some sunglasses. You know, the sunglasses and the like Blues Brothers, but
Yeah,
one more. Yeah, Blues
But,
Brothers. is what I'm going with is the visual.
in
But yes, we're all 3D printing.
we're very much
We're all 3D printing
printing
nerds.
types.
You know, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Joel, but we are.
we could all try and be Joel. But in the time that we've been doing that, which is not massively long, a few months,
Yeah.
but in that, even just in that small time space, you've kind of sort of gone, well, what's this electronic stuff that people are talking about, and then picked up electronics and then ran with it, and then now you
I don't know what you're talking about. yeah,
from as an
I can't
outsider
stop.
watching you learn stuff is like ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Like
In a
me
good
and Andy
way?
are both class ourselves as being absolutely.
Okay.
Andy and I both class ourselves as quick learners, and we pride ourselves on transferring skills and knowledge and picking up things pretty quick. But like the pair of us have both sort of gone, you see how quick Allie's learned that? Just sort of picking stuff up, and then it's like, oh, now I know the whole subject. Almost like Matrix style, plug in the back of your head, and now I know kung fu.
Admittedly, I do think that in this very specific regard, ADHD is a bit of a superpower. But also, I'm sure it's not all that. Like, I'm sure there's something there. Don't worry, though. I make up for it by being very uncoordinated, very bad at sport, and just generally a little, like, just kind of a bit unhealthy, like, just all the time. Like, it's just kind of like, it's like there. I learn stuff very quick, but I fall over a lot.
Through bad habits.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It has, honestly, it's been wild for me too. Like and sometimes I think too that I just don't necessarily have a concept of what normal is.
Yeah,
Like,
I
just
totally
at
get
all.
that.
Though I will say that learning how to design a PCB, I had an inkling that maybe I was picking it up quite quickly. But it wasn't until my lovely tutor Brody Fairhall was like, yeah, no, I've never known anyone to pick it up that quickly, like ever. And I'm like a teacher, so it's kind of like.
But I suppose for something like that, that is a lot of transferring skills. It's
That's kind of what it felt like. Like, it didn't feel.
It's CAD and
necessarily-
design, which is what you've done. It's
the most foreign bit was
flat
the
3D.
electrical schematics. The electrical schematics was the most foreign part of it. Once I had that, the rest of it was more or less just kind of learning which button is which tool kind of thing, which is something you get whenever you learn a new software anyway.
It's learn the rules and learn where the buttons are, and then
I don't know. I also feel like I do just have a gift of spatial awareness or something, like, because it was just a kind of like, oh, well, I should, traces should be kind of laid like this, for them to make sense, and for them to kind of fit the space well. But also, if I do it like this, they look very nice, Like,
I was going to say that's aesthetics training from being an artist as well, I suppose. Yeah,
I very much take for granted a lot of the stuff that I know because it is just kind of second nature now, and it actually brought into kind of stark awareness a little bit for me, teaching my make workshop, which I include a whole section about composition because composition is not just like the backbone of any visual design, but it's the foundation. It is the very first thing, you know? And so even though it was not the traditional sort of make campus topic, covering composition was important to me. And it wasn't until I kind of started teaching composition that I realized how much of it how much of this knowledge I take for granted, because it has just been living rent free in my brain for so long that it's just kind of second nature. It's just second nature to me. I see things in, design theory rules almost.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that set of rules is what influences your view of the world, then, isn't it?
Yeah, it just, every time I take a photo, every time I design something, every time I make a thumbnail for a video, every time I, make an instructional guide, everything I do, these design theories, rules, they just get slotted into without thinking about it. But not everyone has that. And so it's been a kind of interesting thing to be like, yes, actually, I take this for granted. I take for granted this knowledge. And I'm actually quite glad to be able to share it a little bit finally, because one of the things that's been an interesting sort of realization about the maker community is how many different backgrounds we come from. We are not all artists. We are not all engineers. We are not all woodworkers or machinists or painters. Like, everyone comes from like a slightly different background. That said, I do feel like a lot of makers come from some kind of technical background, as opposed to a purely creative background, like a painter or something that is just completely fluid and there's no right or wrong. A lot of makers come from a kind of technical background where there's a right and there's a wrong.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up, because there's a lot of discussions, in other podcasts or in interviews with other makers and things. They often talk about things like any challenges that other people come up with, like a 2x4 challenge where it's just a single piece of 2x4 you've got to make something with. And they've almost unilaterally stated that it is a better experience for yourself to have rules or restrictions, and something that that creative challenge of trying to fit the project to a specific set of rules or specific challenge. And I think that could well be an underpinning sort of key in the kind of maker community of that kind of having a particular background or skill set that you're then trying to apply other things to. I know, like from my past, like professionally, speaking with it was a site manager who managed the trades. So there was joiners and scaffolders and electricians and plumbers and things like that. And he was
a whole lot of physical
absolutely
of industries and career paths.
Exactly. And he was talking to me about the differences in those trades and how their own kind of mental set of rules and imposed restrictions on their abilities. And he'd said that if he grouped them all together and said, go away and make me a gate, all the chippies would go away and make it out of wood, all the plumbers would go and make it out of PVC pipe, all the sparkies would go and make it out of conduit and things like that, and they would all make it in the materials that they in the rules that they are comfortable with, the little set of what they know is kind of how they all come back with.
There is a saying for this, and I can't think of it now, but there is a saying about basically how, like, making do with like the tools you have or something like that. And how if your only tool is a hammer, then everything's
a nail.
Everything's a nail. Yeah,
absolutely.
And that makes perfect sense. I also think it's interesting because looking at myself in that context, I am basically constantly hoarding tools in my toolbox. I'm just continuously adding more tools because I don't like being restricted. I
Absolutely,
don't like, and it's interesting because like people don't necessarily know this because I didn't say it out loud, but like a lot of the projects I've done have been me challenging myself to step outside of what I usually do or know, and to try and do something differently. A good example of this would actually be my picture frame, my modular ultimate picture frame. I had never done a truly functional 3D design like that before. I've done 3D design. I've done 3D modeling for years. Like that's not new, but it had always been for artistic stuff for one, but for two, it never until I discovered 3D printing. All the 3D stuff I made never left the 3D realm. It always existed digitally purely and never in reality. And admittedly, that is why 3D printing is so freaking incredible, is because it takes a thing that exists solely in the digital realm, you know, zeros and ones, pixels on a screen, and suddenly, you know, like
lumps of plastic.
Where's a print? Where's a print I can hold? You know, like, you know, what a physical thing, you know, and it's just like
Klein bottle.
Like,
couldn't make one of those.
Yeah, like that is, to me, I've been doing this for a few years now, and it's still mind-blowing to me. But it does also introduce a new problem. And that is you have tolerances. You have this thing has to work in the real world. It can't just work in a computer simulation. It can't just work on the screen. It has to work in the real world. And so I had never designed anything that really needed to not just work and be a functional thing, but needed to be so finely tuned that it could work in a almost infinite range of arrangements, that it could be printed by anyone on a vastly different printers. Like, I set myself this challenge because it was something I'd not done. And it was hard. It was really hard. Like, it took me months. It took me a long time because it was outside of my usual way of thinking. It was not a nail. It was, you know, one of those little, like, it was like a little doohickey screw bolt, like, hybrid that I'd never seen before. I didn't know what tool this needed. And so I just played with stuff until it made sense, you know, and eventually I discovered it was one of those weird screws that you need like the star head screwdriver to screw in, and nobody has those. Just no, like, unless you get one of these things, which obviously at this point, you know, I have, where it has the million heads, and it's like, oh yeah, there it is. You know, it's one of these weird bad boys with the 6 points and a hole in the middle. Like, okay, I guess I have that tool now, you know? And so that's, I love this. It's covered in cat hair. How it's closed. It's a closed box. Guys, how is this covered in cat hair?
I get the same with dog hair. Yeah.
What is even my life?
So it was the picture frame your entry into like Fusion 360, or was that something you'd learned before then?
I had taught myself Fusion 360 maybe 4 months before this or so. So this wasn't the first thing I'd done, but it was certainly the first thing of this kind. In fact, actually, I think the now somewhat infamous Twisty Vase was one of the first things I'd done.
Yeah.
This was again also a challenge because I had the design in my head, because that's almost always how I work, is I just see stuff in my head. I'm one of those lucky people that like is like a 5 on like the scale of like how clearly they can see things in their head. I can see things like clear as a bell. That doesn't mean I know how to make them into reality.
Yeah, getting them out is usually the problem. Yeah.
Yes. So I had this thing in my head, and the hilarious and almost frustrating bit with this was I knew exactly how I'd make it in 3D Studio Max?
So that was going to be one of the sort of the questions, was having that kind of dissonance between, or not the dissonance, but do you get a dissonance between those two worlds? Because I sort of done the other way of my background was like AutoCAD and SolidWorks and Fusion and Inventor and those kind of things. But I have also dipped my toe into things like Studio Max. So there are times when I look at something, and I look at something from an engineering point of view and go, well, I could make that this way, but it would be really difficult. And I just want to go into Studio Max and go, click the button, it makes the thing that looks like the thing, and then bring it across into like an engineering package and make it the right size.
I feel like it's almost like the difference, now that I have used them both and I know them both, I feel like it's the difference between like sculpting something in clay, like physical clay, and cutting it out of wood.
Mm-hmm.
They're not massively different in the sense that you're still making a thing out of nothing. You're starting with a raw material and you're turning it into a thing. But like clay is not precise. Clay is literally pushing and pulling and moving stuff around until it's kind of in the right place. And you do it all by feel. Whereas making something out of wood, you're measuring. You're measuring stuff. Or at least
pre-planning to make sure that you know what your next move's going to be.
There's a preciseness to it, and things are planned and they're plotted, and the whole measure twice, cut once. You know, like it's a very different way of doing things, and I still see the value in both. Like I'm actually really glad that I understand both. If we're going to use technical terms here, the difference and the uses of both parametric and polygonal modeling, because 3D Studio Max and those packages are polygonal modeling. They're not parametric. They're not infinitely scalable. They're, the way I usually describe it to people who don't know 3D stuff is it's like the difference between a bitmap image, which is most things like a JPEG, and a vector.
Or a bitmap.
You know, which is, you know, you can scale a vector forever. You scale a bitmap and you're going to see pixels. So that's basically what polygonal versus parametric is. Polygonal, you'll see the pixels eventually if it's low poly. So I knew how to make this in 3D Studio Max. In fact, I could see the whole process in my head and it would probably take me 30 minutes tops. But I was like, first of all, that would be garbage for 3D printing. Like, polygonal modeling is not good for 3D printing stuff.
In fairness, it ends up as an STL, which is basically a polymodel anyway.
It is. However, you're going to end up with holes. You're going to end up with intersecting vertices. You're going to take it into your slicer and it's going to explode. Like, your slicer is going to be like, like, it doesn't like, it's, you can do it.
But it always needs fixing.
Like my process for taking models out of ZBrush, which is technically polygonal but pretends it's not, is like something like 5 things long. Like there's like 5 steps I have to take to make sure that the dang thing isn't just going to kill Prusa Slicer when I open the STL.
Did you take it into Studio Max or Maya or one of those?
It's all,
Blender
it's all inside ZBrush with one tiny stopover in Mesh Mixer.
Yeah, there you go. There's always a third party.
But the Mesh Mixer is literally just a check. It's just to check and make sure there's no like loose vertices running around or anything like that. Most of it's done in ZBrush because ZBrush has figured out that people 3D print stuff. And so there are tools to like check water tightness. And there's a tool, honestly, it's called Decimation Master, which sounds just metal. So metal. It just reduces the poly count basically, because if you're making something in ZBrush, there's a good chance that it's several million polygons. And again, Prusa Slicers say no.
Well, not only that, if you can actually get it to slice, it's then the STL file completely and utterly overwhelms your 3D printer as well.
Yeah, no, it's a bad day. It's a bad day for everyone. But yeah, so I wanted to make this in Fusion, and I sat down, and I was like, what?
Like, but straight away, even from holding it up, I'm doing the reverse process. I'm figuring out how to make it in SolidWorks and Fusion.
Yeah, it's
while you're
while I'm holding it up. Yeah, I mean, I can tell you how it's made, but it took me 3 hours or 4 hours to actually get it to look the way I imagined it to in my head. And of course, once I finally figured it out, it is something that you can literally do in like 15 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. It's dead simple once you know how to do it. And that was the challenges was just kind of the figuring out how to put
where to hold the hammer, isn't it?
How to put the square
And
peg in the round hole, like it was all just a sort of translation of knowledge from one software package and one design type to another. So yeah, I do think to a certain extent almost everything I do is a sort of how can I make big brain? How can I big brain? It's because I just love it. I love to add to that knowledge. And it's funny because it has a real downside. And the downside is that I suck at doing the same thing over and over again. It's why I don't work in a studio anymore. It's why I don't work for other people, because for the most part, if you have a skill, people want you to just use that skill
repeatedly
over and over. And then Allie gets murderous. And it's so good. So like, no, it's really difficult for me. Again, I understand why that is now. I didn't for a very long time.
And that's the ADHD.
100%. Yeah. So that is a very common kind of ADHD quality. And it is really interesting because there are a lot of makers with ADHD and we're all kind of like vibing on the same wavelength. And it's kind of like, oh, that's weird. I've never had that. I've never had that sort of, oh, we got the same kind of weird. Like really the same kind of weird. Not just like similar, but like weird. We were like,
yeah, I mean, I know, I think I can probably speak for Andy here as well, but I'm sure he'll just agree with it. But the fact that almost every day on the Discord we're sort of looking at it going, well, I do that as well.
Yeah.
Maybe I should like.
I owe the internet. I owe the internet for my own diagnosis. So, we're all just paying it forward a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
Help the next person get a diagnosis.
I think it's a discussion I want to have another go at. I just want to kind of jump off this for a second.
Reel me in.
Because we're planning to have you back with Ruth, hopefully, and with Billy, and hopefully maybe somebody else for our 20th episode.
Yes.
And we're kind of working on a kind of plan to maybe every 20 episodes to have a group discussion rather than a single guest.
I think that's a great idea.
And we're going to chat on episode 20. We want to talk about kind of how basic principle that Jamie and I have put to you and Billy and to Ruth is to basically say, look, we're two white, middle-aged, bearded dudes.
Beards are important.
Very important. If you're a maker, you've got to have a beard if you're male.
I struggle.
It
doesn't go very well.
But you're non-binary, so you don't need to have a beard.
I don't need one, but it'd be kind of.
You want one? Do you want one? Yeah, we get you. Adam Savage did a thing about false beard last week.
I can probably just take half the length off mine, and you could.
Stick it on. But this is where cosplay comes in. Admittedly, this is where.
True.
Yeah. But yes.
So we're gonna have a group chat about how we and other people hopefully can be better allies. To female makers, to non-binary makers, and to be better aware of some of the issues. Both of us are Jamie and I are dads to daughters. Mm-hmm. So I think we possibly have already got maybe a slightly better awareness than some, but I suspect that we don't have a complete awareness. Yeah, we're both got young daughters.
You can never fully appreciate a thing that doesn't apply to you. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
That's exactly it.
We want to learn more. So we're going to have that on the 20th. But and on the 40th, we've got the Fools of Tool guys booked in to have a chat with, who celebrated the other side. Yeah, they had their 4th birthday party podcast immediately prior to this episode. So
yeah, finished as Andy sorted the link out.
I was saying, finish up. I need to go to the toilet. Yeah.
Come on. I got my own thing.
Yeah,
to do.
we got podcasts to do. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But I would think I'd like to have a chat with maybe yourself, maybe a couple of other people, maybe Billy, because I know something that she's involved with as well, about kind of essentially adult ADHD and makers.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Billy's almost an expert at it, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
more so than myself.
I've spent my career teaching kids with ADHD,
and it looks different in kids.
It does look different in kids,
but it also looks different in different kinds of kids.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, so I learned some of the skills involved in teaching kids with ADHD, and similarly with autism. But I think probably because I have more time now than I did when I was teaching, I think I'm increasingly becoming aware that I have a significant number of ADHD traits. I'm seeing more and more things where I'm going, oh,
you're like,
hang on. I struggle with that. I do this. And it's not that plenty of people without ADHD may struggle with a particular thing, but it's when you start looking for patterns and you start seeing clusters of traits, and you kind of think, maybe that's why this. So I think I'd like to have a discussion about ADHD and making.
I would love to.
And a kind of like mental health in general really is one of those kind of things.
Again, another topic.
I love drawing awareness to things that perhaps are less of an awareness thing. I will say this though. I will say this now, that because I do think it is useful. If not for you, Andy, then maybe for people in the audience. But the thing for me that was the unequivocal something is wrong, as opposed to just I struggle a bit with some stuff, or again, like I find some things a little difficult, but the something is wrong was when I started working on things that I undeniably loved, and I couldn't bring myself to do them. I was frozen. I was absolutely, like, my executive function was like zero. And I would be so frozen with kind of like analysis paralysis and this inertia that admittedly I'd always had. But when you're trying to bring yourself to do something you don't really like to do, that's normal.
It's justifiable, isn't it?
Yeah, then it's like, oh, well, I don't like doing this. That's why I'm having a hard time doing it. Like, that's just normal. But when I was trying to do something I knew I loved and that I desperately wanted to do, and I still couldn't really bring myself to do it without great struggle, that was when I knew. That was when I knew something was wrong. And that was when I made an appointment.
That's a definite key for... I know we've spoken privately about this as well, but a friend of mine has been trying to reconcile his own diagnoses over the years, and that executive function is such a big key that doesn't seem to be addressed in adults these days, because obviously when you making that sort of transition from being a kid into being an adult, there's so many expectations and so many things that you have to do, that then it almost gets overlooked that that certain executive functions are just choices essentially that are then you can't function, you can't do them.
Yeah. And it's interesting because people who've never experienced that, they don't get it. It's just kind of like, well, but why can't you do it? And it's like, you don't understand. I literally cannot. I cannot. And it's interesting because I really do think the internet plays such a huge role in awareness on this. And whenever I stumble upon like yet another ADHD account on TikTok or Instagram or something, and I'll watch it and it's so on the nose, I'm just like, flip the table, walk out. Like, honestly, I'm still freaked out about this one. I saw one where somebody, like, it was like the one person having a conversation with themselves kind of setup. And the one person was just listing things, and the ADHD responder was saying how he felt about them. Mm-hmm. and one of them was like, it's like, little spoon, very good. Big spoon, I'd rather starve. And I was like, oh, no, that's me. Like, no, the spoon thing too? Really? I just thought I was a weirdo. Like, I just thought that I was weird. And then he said, like, little spoon, very good. And I was like, I love the little spoon.
Yep,
I love the little spoon with my life. I would protect the little spoon at all costs. But if you give me a big spoon, yeah, I'm not eating. I'd rather starve. Like, I was just like, what does this mean?
I literally did that like last week. I wandered into the kitchen. I was fully intending to go and make something. Wandered into the kitchen, and there was just like a couple of things that needed moving, and it was that process of like, no, I can't work out which order to move the things in. So it's like which is the most efficient way to do this. No, I'm going to go and sit down for another half an hour because
and then beat yourself up because you didn't do it.
Yeah.
And then 3 hours pass whilst you were thinking about it, and then beat yourself up some more because 3 hours passed and you didn't do it. And like, yeah, no, I know this.
Fortunately, as you can tell by the size, I we've got a good routine in our household so that we're both broken in many different ways between me and my wife. So we have enough of an overlap that we can detect it.
Complementary broken.
Yeah, absolutely that. So there are certain things that she's completely broken on that I can do no problem. And
who makes the phone calls?
versa.
Who makes the phone calls? Okay.
Well, no, I deal with all the internet stuff. If we need to ring a takeaway, she'll ring for that. If we need to ring for something technical,
phone call person. Gotcha.
Yeah. But if it's like ringing the internet people, that's me. Technical phone call, me all day long.
Okay, so it's different. Like, I'm just like, no phone calls. Like don't make me talk on the phone because I will die a little inside.
Going into a shop.
I didn't necessarily mean to make this the ADHD talk, but I did want to share that thing because I do think that for a lot of people there is that. The question is this ADHD, or am I just a normal person struggling a little bit? Because that's a legitimate question.
Yeah,
absolutely, yeah.
Though admittedly, one of my favorite things to ask people is what's your relationship with caffeine? Because that is a very interestingly good test. It's not a super consistent test, but it's an interesting one. So like, yeah, I'll ask people when they come to me, and they're like, I am a struggle. Please help. And I'll be like, yeah, what's your relationship with caffeine? And if they're like, oh yeah, I can drink it and take a nap, I'm like, yeah, you probably have ADHD, because obviously, like the literal different brain chemistry means that you process stimulants different. And that is, again, not a guarantee, but
it's a good indicator, isn't it?
It's a surprising one. Basically, if you were like that, and you can, again, if caffeine chills you out and makes you feel calm, then yeah, that's a pretty telling thing. It not making you feel calm is not a definite no, though. Like, it's because there are different kinds of ADHD, and people have different body and brain chemistries that
and different tolerances to caffeine as well.
Absolutely. So like, it's not, like I said, it's not a perfect litmus test. It is just a kind of interesting one. That's
I mean, I suppose for anyone curious in the chat or hearing it from my understanding of it, the kind of the idea behind that is that the caffeine is like sort of like, filling the fuel for putting your shields up, putting the buffers up to kind of allow you to, it's giving you that boost of energy and focus to allow you to filter out, because it's like an over processing disorder, isn't it, ADHD?
Yeah. It's not an inability to concentrate or focus. It's literally a brain do too much all at once. Yeah. And you can't filter. You can't sift the more important stuff out from the less important stuff. It all feels kind of the same amount of important. And so then it's just loud. It's just noise. From
a linking that back to making and skills and stuff, does that help or hinder with a kind of a decision paralysis for if you're tackling a project and that you can tackle it? I suppose, like we were talking before, whether you were going to tackle something in Fusion or Studio Max, whether you learning two opposing skills or complementary skills in that sense, or however you look at it, with the more skills you learn, does that then help or hinder when you attack certain projects?
Well, you know what helps? Prescription stimulants. I sound like it sounds like a joke, but no, seriously, getting diagnosed and getting medicated actually has made a huge difference. It's made a whole world of difference. So I don't actually struggle so much with those kinds of decisions anymore. I struggle with other things, and there are still lots of things that are a challenge, but the ability to make decisions and the ability to prioritize stuff and the ability to have executive function basically is so improved, so markedly improved on medication that it is night and day. Like I saw a comment about how about taking 3 years to start a YouTube channel. And it's interesting because I basically had been trying to get going on mine for several months, and then I got diagnosed and I got put on medication, and then it actually started. It almost all of a sudden. I had officially uploaded a video before that point, but I was already super paralyzed about how to proceed. And so if I hadn't been, the channel probably would have just died, because I wouldn't have been able to actually get myself to do something. But the fact that I suddenly had just everything was just leveled out, it was like, oh, okay, I can do the thing now. And I did. And then I did it a lot. And then time passed, and somebody.
Then you ended up on a podcast for two middle-aged white dudes with beards. I don't even know what
year it is anymore. It's just it can make a huge difference. So I don't struggle so much with those decisions anymore. They are a lot easier. Like I said, other things are still very difficult. Actually getting myself to settle on an idea and work on that, still difficult. Because I constantly have 800 ideas in my head that all want my attention. I'm still definitely I still definitely work best on kind of multiple things, at least until I reach my stride. And then if you try to pry me away from that one thing, then you might get stabbed with a fork. So
I literally said to Soph this evening that that kind of problem of you can't tackle a to-do list that's a mile long unless you stop adding things to the to-do list, and I've never figured out how to do that. Including then figuring out better ways of doing a to-do list.
Interestingly enough, actually, Ivan Miranda said a thing once, not directly to me, but just into the public, ether of the internet, and it was something I was able to go, okay, I'm gonna try and use that. And it was basically he said that he's not allowed to get started on an idea until something like 3 or 4 days have passed, because there's a really good chance that that idea is not worth pursuing, and that if it's worth pursuing, you'll still want to pursue it after the 3 or 4 days have passed.
Yep.
And I thought about it some, and I was like, that actually sounds pretty good. That sounds like a good way
of doing it.
Because a lot of times there is the, oh, I have an idea, I really want to do the thing, I want to do it right now. But I haven't actually thought it through. And also I have this other thing I need to do, and also it's 2 a.m. So it's it is a kind of yes, we can have a couple of hours to chew on the idea and start to formulate it, but then it's almost okay, now I have to put it down. And if I still want to pick it up later, then we can look at it again. And lo and behold, I stopped putting so many things on my to-do list, because a lot of things actually didn't pass the test. A lot of things I'd go, never mind.
It's when you wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning and suddenly have that now I know what I need to do on the thing, and then scribble something down, and then promptly forget by the time you've woken up.
Admittedly, one of my middle of the night ideas has passed the test, and it's another electronics project. And it's just kind of like, stop it, like I need to get through one. And then I can start thinking about others. But at the same time, I've also thought it through to the point of knowing what bits would be needed for it. And I'm kind of like, I'm pretty certain I can work this out. Pretty certain.
Well, I think Zach said something similar, didn't he? But for, that initial thing of starting the project or starting the idea for the project and then order all the bits. And then it gives you that kind of time to fester and ponder on it and work out the nuances and stuff like that.
See, I can't order the bits until after the 4-day, or I just have a lot of bits and nothing.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's my problem sometimes. I've still got within my kind of my collection of electronic components. I've still got a little plastic bag, just a food bag, just a little sandwich bag, with a set of components that I bought in 1989, possibly 1990, for building I think it was a battery charger. It was at a time when you couldn't buy good battery chargers.
Probably been slightly
I've still got those,
superseded by now.
Yes, it certainly has.
Do those batteries still exist?
No, it was for lead acid batteries. So I was in caving at the time, and I was kind of looking into making my own lamps because some cavers do that. Yeah, because you want to kind of I mean, this is pre-LEDs as well. I mean, there are a few people using LEDs, but you couldn't get good white ones then. That's still in.
I'm pretty certain if you turned up
electronics
at a cave now with a big lead acid battery, they would probably laugh you back home.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean,
not Andy. Andy. Andy is impervious.
Yeah,
I feel like that would not work. I feel like you'd just be like, "No, I'm good, thank you."
Yeah,
and you go do your thing. And
I have pretty much always taken that approach to life. Yeah,
I appreciate that actually.
Unstoppable force and immovable object in one.
Honestly, the only reason why I don't have stuff like that is because of Billy's advice about throwing stuff away, because I absolutely had a bunch of stuff that I have crossed an ocean with. And so
you realize we sell stuff over here as well.
But you grow such an attachment at that point. You're like, we've crossed an ocean together. I have to hold on to this thing forever. And it's like, no, after I read Billy's thing, it was like, all right, we've got a new standard, and a lot of stuff went. So
I really need to do that.
Yeah, for the benefit of listeners on the podcast and for those still in the audience this evening, the Billy Rubin put together a organisation for ADHD makers.
It is
presentation.
So
superb.
Honestly, I don't think you need to have ADHD to benefit from this.
Agreed,
it is some very good and interesting organization methods that basically, if you kind of feel like normal organization methods don't really work for you, read this, because there's tons of stuff that I feel like I was taught that just never really worked. Like basically tidying everything away out of sight never worked for me. And Billy was like, don't do that. Don't do that. If you can't see it, you don't know it exists. Put everything in clear tubs. And then label it so you definitely know what's in it. And then you won't forget stuff exists. And I was like, yeah, it was definitely a bit of a the gif of what's his face? I can't remember his name. But with the that was it. And
it's very much like Adam Savage in his sort of first order retrieval for tools, and thing Jamie Heinemann's shop, where everything was just huge amounts of warehouse racking with clear boxes.
In fact, I might even be able to unhinge my camera arrangement a little bit, because now I've got basically kind of the tools I am potentially going to use the most here, either here or here. And they're not just easy to reach, but they have a home so they can go back easily. And I can see them, so I know where they are, and I don't forget they exist. And like, not everything is out in the open. Like, I do still have some stuff. Like, I have a glue box because obviously I have like 18 types of glue. Who doesn't? And also a screw box, same thing. And so
only
like
the one.
Sorry?
Only the one.
I know you only have one. But it's
Does it have more than 18 types of screws in it?
It's pretty chonky.
Oh, so multiple compartments. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I'll give you that, yeah.
It's a lot. It's only 1,290 pieces.
Yeah, that's fine.
So yeah, I only have the one box.
Mine are
actually, no, you know what? That's a lie. I do have more, but this is the only one that I pay attention to. So
yeah, you're fortunate I'm not doing this from the Tinkerage. Otherwise, I think I could probably trump both of you for screws.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Again, you have electronic pieces from like a couple years after I was born. So
yeah, when I was 4.
Let me just get me clear. That particular one,
just that one.
Probably have electronic pieces from before you were born.
I think
that's actually really cool. I think that's kind of amazing. Like that's like a relic at this point. Like, I'm not that young. Like, I'm approaching like that point where like wine starts to be really good. Like
developing your taste buds.
Yeah, well, yeah. Like, it's where the wine is starting to really open up. It's not old, but like.
Do you feel like a grown up though? That's the big sort of decider, isn't it? Because I'm just at that point now where when I answer the door and someone doesn't ask me if there is an adult present, I don't get as upset anymore.
I think I feel a bit more like an adult than I did, but like in a way that is very hard to quantify and explain. But I still do not feel like 100% adult, and I probably never will, because I like ice cream every day, and I will never stop watching cartoons. And if you make me wear pants when I don't have to, sorry, trousers, make me wear trousers. I don't have to. Remember who I'm talking to here. If you make me wear trousers when I don't have to, I will be upset, because trousers are a tool of the patriarchy or something.
But they have pockets.
Pockets. So yeah, like I am like, I feel like I'm maybe like 30% adult, which is more than a lot of people, but also, again, if you let me have ice cream every single day, I will eat it. I'm not gonna not.
I mean, that's one of the benefits of being an adult, though, isn't it? Is the fact that you can have ice cream for breakfast.
You get
if you want to
decide. Yeah.
I was very much. I have always kind of been one of those people that was looking forward to getting older, looking forward to growing up when I was a kid. I couldn't wait to be an adult. And even in my 20s, I was still just kind of like, I'm not there yet. Like, I'm like, I feel like I'm not done. Like, I feel uncooked. I was still looking forward to like,
medium rare
the next decade. And yeah, now that I'm in my 30s and now that I'm in my mid 30s, I'm kind of finally like, okay, yeah. It's starting to feel about right. It's starting to feel okay. But I'm still very much kind of looking forward as opposed to looking back. In fact, I don't know if y'all saw the incredible bit of social research that happened on my Twitter where I asked the internet, why did you fear turning 30? If you've already turned 30. If you haven't, why do you fear it? Because I didn't. Because I did not. Not even a little bit. But I have very, 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 very clear memories of other people like trying to like project their fear onto me, and it didn't work. Like a little bit like Andy in the cave with the battery. Like, I was just kind of like, I'm good, actually, thanks. I'm gonna go over here now. I never understood it. I do a bit better now because this tweet blew up and so many people responded, and it was illuminating.
And I definitely had the sort of, I didn't fear reaching 30, but I did have that kind of realization when I was 30 of just like, have I got to start doing grown-up stuff now instead of
I mean, no
not
more
doing
than you
grown-up
were
stuff.
potentially.
No, exactly. I sort of did my life backwards anyway, and started a business at 15, and then sort of
Oh
now
yeah, no,
reached
you
the
were
point
fine
where
then.
I'm now doing more younger stuff than I was back then. But
That said, absolutely, I do think that for a lot of people who lived a very privileged life that didn't have much responsibility in their 20s because someone else was taking care of stuff for them, that yeah, 30 then suddenly feels a little bit like a wake-up call, because you do suddenly,
definitely.
I mean, I say suddenly, there's nothing special about 30 over 29, like
No,
like
you're just 2010, aren't you? It's not a
yeah,
real problem.
like exactly. But I can see where, yes, if you're quite privileged, that when you reach your 30s, that you might suddenly find yourself with a little less support than you had before and a little bit more responsibility, which if you're not used to it, sure, I can see where that would be scary. I have a difficult time feeling bad for people in those positions because I was not, like I was very much on my own at 18 kind of thing, so it's kind of like, I don't feel that bad for you. Another interesting one actually was a kind of like able-bodiedness.
Absolutely.
People kind of talking about fearing a decline of health in their 30s, which if you've had perfectly healthy 20s, kind of I can understand that. I can get that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Not. I did not.
Same here.
So it's kind of like, I'm sorry, what am I afraid of here? Like, in fact, my health was worse in my early 20s than it's ever been since. Like, I am way, way healthier now than I was in my early 20s. So it's kind of like, okay, like, what am I supposed to be afraid of here? Like, I've already been through it. I've already experienced these things, so it's fine. But yeah, that really, that life experience that you have, I suppose, up until 30 really does color your approach to it. So yeah, it was an interesting bit of social research. I do appreciate that occasionally Twitter is like just
toxic
font. It is, but other times it is a really unexpected font of data.
Yes.
And information. And again, the social research, you can really do some really incredible stuff on Twitter because of the sheer randomness of it. It's like you couldn't ask for a better randomizer kind of thing, like for your data set. It's just kind of like, okay, yeah, no, this is literally sampling like the whole of the internet. I have no idea what I'm going to get. This is going to be interesting. So I can appreciate that. But yeah, I would still say like maybe 30% adult.
So I could never understand how you're going from the 365th day of my 25th year to the first day of my 26th year. What changed?
I sometimes forget my birthday is
changes.
You got a day older. That's
it's just one. Yeah, it's a continuum. It's just one day older, an arbitrary scale. Yeah, I think
based
once
on
you get to that age where you don't get so many
revolution,
presents, it's
yeah. It is the most arbitrary thing, because it's even the marking of the year, like our years and our days are based on a revolution of a rock around a star, like it's all just kind of time going forward. So we like to mark it because it makes us feel good, and it makes us feel like there's
that's going back to rules and boxes and little pigeonholes and things that are comfortable and
and we get people selling us birthday cards and birthday presents and having to have cake and
there's always an opportunity to make money from people who will spend it.
And it is still officially my birthday month, because as far as I'm concerned with how busy everyone is, that like if I only celebrated my birthday on the day of my birthday, I'd be very disappointed, and have been. So now it's like, nah, it's like the whole month. This whole month is fine. It's like you're not late. You're not late because it's still July. So
you're an adult, so you can do that. You can have birthday cake every day if you like.
I have had a lot of birthday cake.
Have you had birthday cake ice cream, as in like Ben and Jerry's flavor, or?
Yes, actually, I have. I really like the Ben and Jerry's flavor, though I will say somewhat like tangentially, actually no, it is birthday cake. The birthday cake cereal milk ice cream from a place in New York City called Milk is the best because it literally has chunks of birthday cake in it.
Yeah.
Like chunks of birthday cake. It has sprinkles, but it's also made with the cereal milk ice cream, which is just, again, it's very good. I have not had that because I'm in the UK. But I have had the Ben & Jerry's birthday cake ice cream. It is pretty good. It's quite good.
I think that just reminded me then that talking about that ice cream in New York, but I was in a restaurant called Ketchup, I believe it was, up in Scotland years ago.
Ketchup.
And they did at the time, did a lemon cheesecake milkshake.
Nice.
Like, is this where they put like a whole slice of milkshake? That's actually...
So they just have the blender, stick a load of milk, stick a load of ice cream, and then just stick a slice of the cheesecake in the top. And it was served in a glass milk bottle, and it was
If
amazing.
I'm not mistaken, that is borrowed from a Jewish deli.
It does not surprise me in the slightest
Because
it's a fantastic idea.
I know of a place that does that and has done it forever. It is a Jewish deli called Katz's. So like that is a thing. And also like the most decadent and deadly thing probably, because you have then a whole milkshake and a whole slice of cheesecake.
Yeah. And a massive smile. Very
for a little
clubbed out.
while. And
Yeah.
then,
Oh yeah.
and then you die. And it is the end of everything.
I mean, if you were going to choose a way to go, that is
Food is
one of the better
definitely
ways, I think.
I think food is up there for me as well, because I do like food a lot.
I mean, I suppose
sorry.
No.
I was gonna say I'm also just kind of gently aware of the time as well, and I'm just kind of like, man.
If you're happy, keep going. We can keep going. But yeah, I mean, I think we're going to be on for our record episode.
I feel like I will probably do the smart thing and not just talk all night. But that's okay because I'm coming back.
Yes,
totally. Yes, you are.
Another opportunity.
Totally.
I told y'all you don't have to worry about me. I will literally.
Well, I mean,
until the
that's
cows
what we
come
said
home.
at the start. Is that it's a waffle and we waffle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is not a podcast for people who want to hear the same questions from makers and whoever. This podcast, probably the best way of describing it is vanity, where Jamie and I get to talk to amazing makers, and so far you're our 9th maker, and we've had 9 amazing conversations that do not fit in any other podcast. And
I quite like that though.
We've had people who've been on podcasts. We've had a few people who've been on no podcasts. We've had people
or who've had their own podcasts as well.
We've had people who've been on other podcasts, and we
I'm
have
definitely
not had a conversation that
fall into
fits
that
into
category.
those. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's part of our intent. But yeah, it is approaching kind of sort of 2 hours. So let's move on to kind of what's been grabbing attention as the guest. Yeah, if you'd like to go first, what's been grabbing your attention lately? Things you've been working on, things you've been thinking about, things you've seen, videos, articles. I mean, you've mentioned a few things. Links to kind of everything that gets mentioned gets put into the show notes, which are on the YouTube channel for those who are listening on audio.
Well, I mean, like I feel like the thing that has been like grabbing my attention recently is soldering. Soldering is cool.
Because you've been learning that, haven't you? Yeah.
It's so much fun. It is just so much fun. I totally understand now why people are obsessed with electronics, because
All the
soldering
Brits
is
trying to tell you that it's soldering though instead.
Oh yeah, I don't
With
care.
the element, yeah.
There are certain things I will give y'all. It is maths. It is 100% maths. You are correct. It's maths, but it's also aluminum. So.
Well, I mean that is both of them are legitimately accepted. So.
But it is maths.
We'll let you off with that.
It's maths.
Yeah.
Like I will actually. I'm 100% with you on that one. Math is incorrect because it's mathematics. Maths. But that one actually, I also enjoy the reactions I get when I say maths, sounding American, and people are like, "What?"
She put the S on the
But
end.
yeah, soldering. Unfortunately, the L does not get recognized in this country. So it's just soldering. But no, it is so much fun. And I am, as I mentioned before, I am hard at work at the moment on the next video, which is for my YouTube channel, which I know will be linked.
Yep.
And I'm excited because this is a project that I have been planning and scheming and wanting to do for a while, and also was terrified to do because, again, electronics terrified me until, frankly, SparkFun swept in like a guardian angel and was like, here, follow this book and you will learn about electronics and you won't be scared anymore. And I was like, oh, actually, yeah, cool. So yeah, I'm not quite as afraid anymore as I was. Still a little afraid of the magic smoke being let out, but so far it's been pretty good. In fact, actually, great excitement was had when I managed to. Sorry, I just saw the comment about making Joe Rogan sweat.
Yeah, we're after him. We are after him.
Yeah, we've been saying from day one that he's the goal. We're going to dethrone him.
I'm in. I'm up for it. Sounds good to me. But yes, I managed to not just connect some switches, but I managed to write the Python to test them. Nice. And to make them talk to me, which of course they said, OMG, I'm a button, I've been pushed. But the fact that it worked, and
yes, it did.
I didn't just necessarily copy and paste. I mean, I obviously used reference material for the Python because, again, I know very little, but it wasn't just like a copy paste job. I did write it and it worked and the buttons worked and like everything worked. And that was just like, like this. This is cool. So
it's like opening the door to lots of new possibilities. But that's the same
process. Yeah, that's the same process you talked about earlier about learning art by copying manga.
Yep.
And I've been listening recently to a podcast called Make It and Then Tell Everybody. Ooh. And it's I can't remember the name of the guy off the top of my head. He's a comic artist. So he previously was a professor of art, but he then went kind of freelance, got out of academia, and he
can't remember his name?
Not off the top of my head. I will dig it out. I'll message you.
He's
a Brit. He's a Brit.
Oh, okay, never mind.
So probably not one of your teachers.
Who could have gone on.
Yeah, I've been listening to kind of these other artists, so mostly kind of animation, comic type things. People who are literally writing comics, comic strips and the like, and often talking to them about how they get started. And so many of them have said, "Yeah, I started by tracing other cartoons. Yeah, I had my copy of the Beano and I drew over the top of it in order to start getting the shapes." And I kept doing that until I knew what the shape was like in different positions of that character, and then I could draw that character in the positions I wanted. It's exactly the same principle that you talked about in your art, and it's exactly the same principle for electronics and programming, Arduino and the like.
I have no issue with copying code. Like, I really don't. I don't feel like it's wrong. I don't feel like it's cheating. Like, exactly.
You still got to debug it at some point.
It's how you learn. It is 100% how you learn. It is how I'm learning. And again, every time I'm able to alter the code from what is written down and it still works, it's like, it's really, really good. But it's still 90% copied, and that's fine. And it will be for a while. Like, that's, I don't feel bad about that.
That's what, like, linked libraries and things like that it's perfectly normal part of coding to do that as well. So
I was going to say, I'm not a developer or programmer. I haven't done any proper programming since my university days, which, obviously that's kind of punch cards. I'm sure Jamie can get in there before Jamie said it.
I was thinking.
But my understanding is that, a lot of developers and programmers now just literally take packets of code from other people and just put them together and make them work for the situation that they're in. So it's a perfectly good skill set to have.
Admittedly, there is, I think, a very deep misconception, like especially in kind of like the professional art world, that if you aren't making stuff from scratch, that it's not really yours. To which I say, and I was gonna say this will be my one swear, bullshit. Like that isn't actually how professional artists work. I don't know who came up with that, but it's not actually true, because the fact is that most professional artists are under the wire. And so they will take every shortcut that they can. Like they're not like stealing other people's work, but there are shortcuts. A wonderful example is there is a software called Character Creator, which literally exists to give you a base mesh for a human, for like a humanoid character. Because if you had to model from scratch every, like for if you made a lot of characters, if you're a character artist and you had to make every single one of them from scratch, that's insane. Like that would take so long. So of course you're gonna use the thing that gives you a base mesh.
And you know, it's not as if like if I want to go and build something out of wood, I'm not going to go and plant the trees to go and grow the wood.
Oh yeah. I forgot. You got to plant the tree before you can cut it down. Yeah, but you're not going to go and just cut down the tree either. You're going to go and buy
the pre-made thing that makes your job easier. That's, you know.
And there's nothing wrong with doing things from scratch if that's what, you know, rustles your jimmies, but it's also very okay to not. It's okay to buy a loaf of bread. You know, you don't have to bake the bread to make your sandwich. You know, it's not cheating. It's not
having ground your own flour on the millstone that you carved out of the rock face yourself.
100%. There is admittedly, I think, a YouTube channel that does exactly that sort of insanity. And it is actually very entertaining. But it's insane. Like it's bonkers. So it's okay. And so very much kind of one of my like professional artist advice is it's okay to take shortcuts, like especially if you're learning, but even when you're not, like shortcuts are fine as long as you're not stealing someone else's work and claiming it as your own. Then have at.
It's a shortcut to create your own work, isn't it? It's not a complete theft of the idea and work involved.
And the fact is too is nothing's original anymore. I feel like
I was going to say is
based off of something else. So.
Everything's a Remix is a fantastic YouTube series. If you have,
absolutely. So it's basically basic life rules. Don't be a dick, and it'll be fine. Like that's just much. Apply that to most things, or apply that to pretty much everything, and you'll be fine.
That's the Will Wheaton phrase, isn't it?
Yep.
Is there anything else been?
I like the phrase.
I want to dig into that with you later then. But now, is there anything else been grabbing your attention recently? Then has that been your?
So the secret project is.
The secret project is coming to a milestone. It's not almost done, but it's coming to a milestone. And the first video should hopefully be done soon. So that's definitely been a big thing. I've always this is small and relatively insignificant in comparison, but like I have also been doing some fun and interesting experiments with flexible filament, but not just flexible filament, but flexible filament and coloring it with alcohol ink. Because my first experiments with it, the color flaked off when you got a little too enthusiastic with the bending. And so I got myself a bit of our local Hex Flex from Polyprops, which is here in the UK. And this is explicitly made for like Ava foam and stuff like that. Basically,
is that like a clear coat then?
This is a clear, but it's actually both a primer and a top coat. I have to hold it by my face, or you can't see it.
Very cool.
But I also got spray top coat, and basically I've just been doing a little bit of experiments with the. Like, because this is what the kind of pieces they kind of look like to start. They're just these little triangles. and I have to force them into one another to build the chain, which just wrecks the color. So like I'm trying different combinations of the stuff that I have. Like I tried just applying a top coat to the pieces where the mark had gone on no primer. I've tried primer no top coat. I've tried basically using this stuff as both a primer and a top coat. The last thing I have to try is this is the primer and this is the top coat. Actually, not true. I need to try this as a primer too to see if that works. Because admittedly, if this works as a primer and a top coat, this is the winner because this is much easier. It has admittedly taken me entirely too long to hand like brush on on all these tiny little pieces. Like it's been kind of satisfying in a way because I do quite like tiny work. Like I have good fine motor skills, and so like I find tiny work quite satisfying. But it's also reached that point where my brain's like, all right, we're getting bored now. Like, can we be done with this?
New project.
Exactly. So like I'm ready to wrap up this experiment, but this will be a headband. I did not do this design. This is designed by So Printed, as an SEW, So Printed. She designed this, and she basically does almost entirely wearables, which is so cool. And I love 3D printed wearables, and it's very much an area I want to explore more into. But yeah, this will be a headband,
very
though.
Cool.
It will look a little bit better than that. But it's of course rainbow because why not?
Rainbow.
Because rainbow is my aesthetic. Because I have so many Copic markers that I have spent so much money on that for years sat unused, and I'm like, I'm going to use these little.
It's all about the blend.
Oh, I mean, yeah, like these. I got enough colors that I can get a gorgeous blend, but they last forever. Again, I bought these when I was like 18, 19, 20, basically when I was in university. And
my boss sold some recently that he'd had for probably 25, 30 years.
So
like
they
a
were
pack of like
vintage?
6. Oh yeah, they were.
They actually probably look exactly the
properly.
same.
They were pre that. They were very, very, very old, funky.
The square ones, maybe.
No, they were. No, they were rounded. I don't think they were Copic brand, but they were alcohol ink markers.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
I thought these were
old.
old Copics. I was going to say, oh wow, I'd be impressed because I don't think the company is that old, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, these were really old markers, and all tested worked perfect.
Nice.
Sometimes quality stuff is like sometimes expensive stuff actually is incredible quality. A lot of times,
Yeah, sometimes it is quality, not the name.
but sometimes, yeah. In this case, these are so expensive. They're still so expensive. They've never gone down in price. But yeah, with the exception of maybe one of my markers, which for some reason has gone weird, like the color has gone like off. I don't know why. I'm gonna blame human error here because the others are all perfect. The others they've not dried out. They've all maintained their color. They're incredible. So worth it, I guess. I think I've gotten my money's worth finally. Yeah,
Excellent.
Probably. So yeah,
Jane.
it is. There's always so many things. I'm definitely there's gonna be some more cosplay stuff coming too.
Cool.
Which is actually the other reason why I got the Hex Flex. So like actual cosplay related stuff. But at this point,
I'm looking forward to seeing that.
I'm not sure when that'll be. But yeah, always something. At least 3 things, maybe 4.
Jamie, what's been grabbing your attention?
My wife and daughter have been off camping this weekend, so I've been sort of actually catching up on a few little bits and bobs of YouTube and bit of self-care, just kind of pottering and doing stuff, and made a shelf and that kind of stuff I haven't really got a chance to do recently. But there's one sort of YouTuber that I've got back into recently is Tom Nagy. He's an electrician down in London. But
I'm
he's
gonna need to see that spelled.
Nagy.
Oh.
But he goes by Tom the Spark on the social media stuff. But he did a. He's just really, really good at explaining stuff, but he's really sort of down to earth as well. And he does a lot of like van tours and stuff like that. He's sort of been building the business up over years. It was just him, but it used to always be he'd have like he'd go and wash his van or resort all like the storage bins in the back or something like that, and just have a chat to the camera while he's sorting rubbish out. But he did a van tour recently of this like Sortimo racking and stuff, and it was just, beautiful organisation of all these bins and drawers and fold down ladder racks and stuff like that. It's just proper organisational nerd porn.
Nice.
I like Sortimo stuff.
Yeah, it's really, really good. But the other thing I've been enjoying is some subharmonic singer stuff. Really sort of deep dive in that.
Ooh.
With a cappella singers. So a lot of people have heard of like Pentatonics.
Yeah.
And Avi Kaplan from Pentatonics is their super bass. Is their like a basso profundo, they call it. So sort of him and Tim Faust from Home Free have been, kind of on my radar for a while. But another one in particular is Jeff Castellucci from Voice Play. And he's just, those three guys they do funny, tingly things to me. They are phenomenal.
Isn't that great when music does that?
Oh my God. That. They're gorgeous guys anyway, but their voices are just super silky. And if you've got a good set of headphones, check out Jeff Castellucci. He's done a few on his YouTube channel. He did one called 16 Tons, which is it's an old song from like the 40s in the States.
Oh.
But he did this amazing version of it, and some of the notes that he can get down to in this subharmonic singing is just.
Oh wow!
That's an old slaving song.
It is, yeah. It's about coal mining.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and how the link between not getting an actual wage, but getting credits for a store that was run by the company that you were mining for, and things like that. The lyrics are quite interesting, but just the overall sound is just unreal. The human voice can produce these subharmonic frequencies that just shake everything to pieces. It's just.
Yeah, I can definitely appreciate that, especially since I'm on the other end of the musical spectrum. So, like,
yeah, I'm completely and utterly talentless, but
like I'm in the like basically some of the highest vocal ranges. So low is like I don't know how to do that. That's not possible. So yeah,
well,
I have a strong appreciation for it.
Familiar with Elizabeth Zahoff? She's an opera singer who does a lot of reaction videos and musical breakdowns and stuff. She goes by the Charismatic Voice on YouTube.
I've not seen her.
She's very, very cool.
I am intrigued. I do wish I had more time to like do more deep dives on other people's channels, because there's so many amazing things out there, and I often feel like I have no time.
Yeah, I know. I haven't been watching very much videos in the last few weeks, and my one-tab collection has gone from it's gained about 300 in the last 2 weeks of just videos I want to watch. But
well, what has been grabbing your attention, though, Andy?
My attention this week. Well, I've been working on a secret project. I've been teasing that on Instagram. Project that started last March, as in March 2020, during the first lockdown.
Oh wow!
They went on hold for a while. That's coming to fruition. Hopefully, I was going to say hopefully it was going to get finished tomorrow. But the thing that's been grabbing my attention today, other than battling some bigots, which you two both know about, because I kind of mentioned to you earlier. Yeah, I can imagine it's your everyday. I'm just not going to let it go.
Has it been a bit dribbly over by you then?
It has been a little bit into wet today. Yes. We have had about lunchtime it started raining. It started raining very, very heavily I mean, I'm Welsh. I was brought up in Wales. I have seen rain. Rain is nothing
Brought
that
up
I
in
worry
Horizontal
about.
rain.
Horizontal. I've seen horizontal. I've seen rain going upwards. Yeah, I've seen some pretty awful rain, and today was pretty awful rain.
Yeah,
And
it was.
our village that I live in, it's only a small village. It's probably about 1,100 folk in the extended village.
Oh wow.
So not very big. There was some significant flooding. Both my sheds have been flooded, but I've probably lost about £1,000 worth of plywood. In terms of it, yeah, I had 3 or 4 offcuts of birch ply in one shed, like on the floor, not flat on the floor, but edge on the floor, and so it's probably about £1,000.
Why are you
nowadays,
laughing,
isn't it?
Jamie?
Because I'm laughing at the fact that
Yeah.
he means about this much plywood that's this thick, but
I've
it's
got-
about £1,000 worth in the current price
Plywood's
of
very
plywood.
expensive at the moment.
Oh, I did not know that.
so-
See, I'm sitting here
yeah,
like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. And you're laughing.
My electric cool box was floating in water. My lawnmower, I didn't even open that shed. My lawnmower's probably had it. It's an electric lawnmower. It might be okay. I don't know. And I hate to think what else I've lost. My sheds are. If you've ever seen any of my stories or occasional videos on shop tours, my sheds are packed.
It's a proper
I've-
exercise in Tetrising.
Yeah,
I mean,
Tetris thing.
If I had sheds, they'd also be packed. So I understand.
Yeah, I've probably lost a significant amount of stuff.
Insurance?
Wet damaged. But that's minor compared to the people. I mean, we had literally one part of our garden. It was over the top of wellies, the water.
Wow.
And our neighbours behind us had their house flooded. Several areas of our village have had sewage coming up with flooding.
That's
It's been pretty nasty, and yeah, I mean, it's been wet. I made the mistake as well of walking around. I don't actually have any wellies. I've kind of like rigger boots, the kind of sort of thing a construction worker would use. And I made the mistake because I wanted to go and see if help with sort of neighbours. After we'd sorted our own, we had a leaking in the conservatory. We had water pouring down on the wall at the back of the conservatory.
I thought it was bad here. It was not that bad.
I had to clear out a drain every 5 minutes because it was rushing so much moss off our roof and the gravel off our flat roof that it was actually blocking one of the drain next to my workshop, the Tinkerage. Literally every sort of 5-10 minutes at one point. I was getting drenched every time.
This is a very fair distraction.
But I made the mistake of trying to go and find out sort of how other people were coping and seeing if any help was needed. Of just putting boots on because I was soaking wet, so I just put boots on with bare feet, and I've shredded both my heels from walking around with wet boots on. So I'm kind of not very comfortable.
So your day's not
with
good.
disinfectant.
Yeah, I've got to give them a wipe with some nice stingy Savlon. Yeah, so hopefully they'll be okay. That's not been great.
No.
But looking ahead, I did promise JP, who's probably left the chat now. I don't know if he's still in the chat. We're down to about 10 people watching, so stalwarts.
Yes.
Next weekend, next Saturday, is the Virtual Craft Festival. Now, there's been several of these so far, from 10 a.m. UK time to 2 a.m. UK time. Every hour on YouTube, there'll be a different maker who will be doing a different thing. So in the past, they've had people wood turning, scroll saw, ceramics, cooking,
I love it.
jewelry, resin work, all sorts of things.
We did also have Al's Hack Shack building.
I was just about to say,
Sorry,
Al built a smoker. Yeah, he built a smoker in an hour from a beer keg.
Is there a schedule?
There is a schedule. There will be a link in the in the show notes, which will take you to a YouTube page on which there will be when it goes live, on which there will be the schedule for the day, and every person taking part will have the schedule on their sort of video description as well.
I'd love to try and drop in and see some of it. I know that I am supposed to be potentially going to see a friend for their birthday. It was actually supposed to be this weekend, but hey, someone got a ping.
It's all going to be on YouTube. It's all going to be on YouTube, so people can drop back in at any time to sort of see.
I would love to pop in and see what's going on because it sounds really awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
they
been some
do it fairly
been some great
often,
ones.
and it has been pretty good.
Yeah, every 2 or 3 months. They don't do it every month. They do. I can't remember if it's every 2 months or every 3 months. I think it's
Okay.
3 because the last one was
I
May.
think it's probably 3. Yeah.
Yeah, the last one was May. Then it's February.
Time.
Yeah, so yeah, it's every 3 months.
That was a thing.
So yeah,
It's
there's
that
been
wibbly
some.
wobbly timey wimey stuff, isn't it? That we're getting back to with your teaser there.
You're getting stuff away.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's kind of thing. So whether I don't think I'll have to try and check out what the damage is. I mean, we had to move a stack of books this afternoon because they were getting wet in the conservatory.
Books do not like to be wet either.
No, and some of them are old books, like older than you two. So
Well, Lily did a thing on washing books, didn't she?
Yeah, she did.
It's a very Billy
Yeah,
thing.
it's a very delicate and extended process. I don't really want to have to do that to probably
Yeah, no, that's fair. I
30 or
don't blame
40
you.
books. Yeah.
I was just wondering whether there might have been something in there that could have worked as a.
Yeah, not. Yeah, I haven't had the opportunity to stick bits of tissue paper between each one today. Been a bit distracted with other stuff. Yeah, I mean, we've literally had kind of water coming out of manhole covers, pushing manhole covers up because of the amount of water. Fire brigade out, pumping people out, things like that.
Yeah, that's pretty significant. That's pretty significant.
Yeah.
We can definitely see why that's grabbed your attention today.
Yeah. That seems.
So there may be a slight
legitimate.
delay on the project. The project's been delayed because of using rattle cans to spray paint because I needed a certain colour, and I don't have the space to spray inside. So I've had to wait for the wind. I don't like spraying into the wind. letting half of it go into the wind. Yeah,
There is that. Absolutely.
I'd rather it went on the object I'm trying to spray it.
Yes.
So
You're so fussy.
should be finished soon. I know. I'm picky. I'm picky like that. So that's been it really. So I think drawing to an end almost. Next week we were going to have Nick Saunders from Nick and Dragon. But we've
Unfortunately,
this afternoon.
she's stacked with work, so unfortunately we have to reschedule her.
Oh no.
Because she does do. I think did we mention this when we talked to Kurt that she's working on a certain project?
She has.
I think we mentioned it, didn't it? Yeah.
She has been doing a little bit. I mean, the filming for it has wrapped now, but she had been working on a particular Netflix show that wrapped up recently that had some sort of, cosplay type stuff.
That's very cool.
But yeah, I know she's been working relentless hours and stuff, so we're going to try and.
So there will be. She'll be. I was going to say we until that point we were fully booked up for guests until I think the 10th of October.
Dang,
I mean,
we've been doing.
In fairness, I think we were sort of overbooked for guests from the amount of people who've kind of said, just ring me when someone drops out, ring us. So
there you go.
We are not going to have not going to have a problem to fill, but who's going to fill yet? Well, we'll have to see. And we've got Red Smith after that, Caro. We've got a few others. We've got Phil Thompson coming up. That's the ones I can remember off the top of my head without looking at the list.
It's a good
the list of people who said yes, because we've had multiple lists, because we do that. Next week, not sure.
Yeah,
100%.
It should be a pretty good lineup.
I do feel like I'm like reaching that pumpkin time where like my brain's like, why? Wait, we're still up? You want me to still do thinking? You can't make me. Like I'm not a super like early to bed kind of person, but
neither are we.
Kind of a
You get second wind next.
The number of conversations Jamie and I have had at 1 o'clock in the morning. Yeah,
and then you're like, how to get.
The problem is what we normally do is we'll have a conversation at 1 o'clock in the morning, and then it lasts until about 2 o'clock with us both saying, "Oh, we should really go to bed."
Yeah. We should totally. We really need to get to bed. We really got to go.
Well, so Allie, I know it's
later,
in your. I know it's in your description on the screen, but for the benefit of the people who don't have the video feed, where could people find you if they were trying to?
I am at Geeky Faye Art, Faye spelled Faye, Geeky Faye Art, no spaces, no underscores, one word, everywhere, because I was good and I got that. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm on TikTok for some reason. I'm on YouTube, of course. I am on Patreon. I have a Discord. I am very much like just multiplying on the internet. And so definitely whatever your social media of choice is, come and find me. Come and follow, come and subscribe, come and say hi. Say you heard me on the show so I know how you found
Absolutely,
me.
yes.
And yeah, stay tuned because there's definitely going to be some very, very good stuff coming out soon. Though for my
more very good stuff.
More very good.
You've had some very good stuff already.
But actually, I was going to say I'm actually hoping to have a Patreon post, hopefully maybe tomorrow, with some stuff that I forgot. So like because I get very caught up and I'm suddenly like, oh hey, I forgot to share this thing. So the super secret project that is hopefully going public soon will be talked about on Patreon like tomorrow or Tuesday. So if you really can't wait, you know what to do. So
I shall definitely be looking forward to
find out
that.
early. So, but everyone else, stay tuned. It's coming soon. It's going to be good. I hope. Yes.
Brilliant. And everyone knows. Everyone hopefully watching this and listening to this knows where to find us. And it's in the show notes anyway. That's it. Us, me and Jamie, either at Makers Waffle or in our personal accounts across the various social medias too. So yeah, just look it up. So I think this is probably a good point to say goodbye to the listeners and thank you for
thank Allie for joining.
Yeah, and the people in the audience. If you've been listening
me.
this long, it's been brilliant, and we will, as I said, we'll definitely have you on again.
Yes, yeah,
absolutely.
No, this is happening for sure. 100%.
And you currently hold the record for the longest Makers Waffle chat.
You do. That's a good record to have.
I'm the longest wind. I am the longest wind. And yes, cheers everyone who's stuck it out because it is long, very long. But we're gonna say goodnight to everyone before it's Monday.
We are going to say goodnight.
Yeah, good plan.
And,
we better be quick. Yeah.
See y'all.
Right. Yep.
Okay, good night, guys.
Good night, folks.